Peace, peace. This is Ogula Ra. I'm just chiming in, doing a video today, some things that I, want to talk about that I'm seeing, that a lot of us are seeing going on in the world. Different countries are at war, um, a lot of violence. This is the month of March, so, this is dealing with March Madness. So a lot of chaotic energy, a lot of violent energy, a lot of discord is actually taking place. But for a lot of us who know, when the higher courts are are at war with individuals, that the high court tends to trickle down and then to start affecting um, the rest of the community and so forth. But what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, you know, particularly when you're dealing with the spiritual community, you're seeing where um, a lot of disagreements, a lot of misunderstandings is taking place, and a lot of information is being um, misguided in different situations like that. But also, I understand that a lot of individuals that decided to get on this path of spirituality, decide to do the spiritual work, finding out their spiritual gifts and utilizing it. But what I'm seeing, at this particular time, where I would say it's a lot of, the spiritual community has been infiltrated. And what I mean by spiritual infiltration, individuals who, not saying that everybody don't have the ability to be spiritual or have spiritual gifts or spiritual authority, but you're seeing where a lot of individuals came in and they infiltrated the whole spiritual community, right? And you got a lot of people just doing whatever, figure, once they get this sense of power, they can just do at will. You know what I'm saying? Even though, with Aleister Crowley, he talks about do what thy wilt. But even in that aspect and that understanding, there's still spiritual laws and spiritual, rules that you have to follow, right? And in that, everybody have a position to hold and to do on this particular path. You have hooligans, you have mambos, you have priests, you have priestesses. You know what I'm saying? You got tatas, you got yayas. You also have balkals. You got all these different people who have position of power who come from a lineage of bloodline. You know what I'm saying? You have individual whose bloodline, first generation, second generation, third, who holds their position. But even in that aspect, you're seeing where a lot of outsiders who's being entertained by a lot of this information, and what's happening is the spiritual infiltration, right? And when you're being guided off, of course, I look at it like this. Let's say sports, for instance, right? And when you're looking at sports, there's only three main characters that's the most important. Let's take wrestling, for instance. You have the wrestlers, you have the announcers, and then you have the you have the one who's actually collecting all the data and the recording, right? And the people, the outside people or the audience is the one that's cheering everybody on. And a lot of times people make their decisions off who get the most acknowledgement and who ones who don't, right? And in that situation, people, they get egotistical, you know what I mean? And they get bullheaded, and a lot of times that can cause spiritual felonies where when you commit a spiritual felony, now there's a warrant that have to come out. There's different laws. Even if you, I'm kind of jumping to different spaces. Even when you think about, I would say, like the courts of heaven or the courts of hell, each spirit or each hierarchy have to follow a specific guideline. Um, you have, like I said, you have the four courts of hell, right? Each individual spirit governs a particular dominion, and they don't cross paths of what the other demonic entity would follow. Same thing, like you have the archangels. There's different courts in heaven that they don't cross each other's pathway, but they do have an understanding the position that they hold and the power that they have, right? So, and saying that, everybody got to know their position, and everybody got to know what they're here for. But you don't want to let outsiders or influencers to make you make decisions where it could bring misfortune to yourself or family or whatever. But I'm just looking at it to where a lot of individuals, on this path, it's easy to get online and put out content and make your point across. But when the cameras are off, when you don't get those subscribers, when you don't get those likes, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? The real scenarios and the real situation happens when the cameras is off. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't let you know. Like, I just had a situation when I'm talking about spiritual felonies and spiritual infiltration. Like, I just recently had a situation where I came home from work, and I got security cameras outside, like inside and outside my home. So I was just relaxing, watching TV, and Haphazard just went to go check my camera, right? When I was reviewing my camera, I seen where this car pulled up behind my car. Well, before that, pulled up behind my car and, stood in between the car parking lot, for a few minutes, and then they left. So when I went outside, I noticed that they had this liquid or water, whatever it was, they poured it in between my cars, right? Still talking about spiritual felonies and spiritual infiltration, right? So, mind you now, in that moment of time, prior to that, I almost got in a vehicle collision, but it worked out where spirit was guiding and protecting me. You know what I'm saying? And that situation had subsided, but at the same time, that let me know that someone felt as though, being that they learn a particular practice, or they learn some type of banful magic, they decided they want to. They feel as though that they had the legal right to violate my space, right? And when you look at individuals who are on this path, they feel as though they can just pick up a particular tool, pick up a textbook, and then just go out and find anyone that they can try to practice their you know what I'm saying, their wickedness on, right? But what I'm really saying is that, like, a lot of people just have to be mindful of committing spiritual felonies, because a lot of times spirit will let you build up, just keep throwing different things at individuals. But when the warrants, when the headhunters come out to give you your warrant, you know what I'm saying, or your citation, you know what I'm saying, there's penalties that's going to get involved. And a lot of times people don't really stress, like, the seriousness on the spiritual path, people's spiritual courts. And a lot of times you have to be mindful who you decide to challenge, because you feel as though, okay, I'm gonna go after this particular person because I don't like how they dress. I don't like how they move. And in so many different situations, so many different things can happen in the prior time. You won't even know it. A lot of times you could be being hit with something and don't even realize that even a particular spirit is even latched on to you until it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm just doing a short video, talking about, for, the spiritual community who's in their own right, their own position of power. You got to be careful. Like, well, a lot of people ain't gonna be careful. They're just gonna do what the fuck they want to do. But at the end of the day, you know, don't let your subscribers, your viewers, influence you to make haste decisions, to be egotistical and not being responsible of your position of power. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of individuals whose bloodline, you know what I'm saying, who have ancestors who've been walking with them, who practices these traditions for years, and you have people who's being spiritually infiltrated in the community, causing discord. The whole purpose, just like you have somebody who do left hand magic and throw it to somebody who do right, and then they can neutralize it, either or. You know what I'm saying? There's a purpose for sickness and there's a purpose for healing. You know what I'm saying? A person could throw sickness and then somebody can come who's a skilled magician or whatever. They can neutralize that effect, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just kind of like doing a short video real quick on you have to be real careful on being influenced by subscribers and being influenced by this niche or this trend that you could just get in these practices and just do whatever you want to do. There's consequences, there's repercussions, and a lot of times you may think, you can just wipe different energies off. In certain cases, when you're in spiritual violation, there's really nothing that you can really do, when energies come to you. So just wanted to do a video talking about, how the spiritual community has been infiltrated, and the ones who's been seasoned, who's been in the practice for years, you already know, like, you know what I'm saying? And anything that you do, there's always going to be infiltrators and people who want to be involved in this war, you know what I'm saying? Just as well as, different countries at this particular time, they are at war with each other. That energy, or that hierarchy energy, is going to trickle down to the government, to the, to the community, and so forth. And you're seeing that now. But only thing I'm really, really just kind of like stressing is that, for the individuals who've been on this path for many years, or the ones who just coming into the gift knowing that they have a particular assignment to do, is do it right. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody going to do the right thing, but you just have to be careful, because you got a lot of people that's watching. You know what I'm saying? And the thing I don't really get is that on this path, everybody's doing their thing. You have different ethnic groups, different backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? They're attacking each other, when it's like the real energy that need to be addressed is, the energy that's outside. This is like one time I was talking to one of my siblings, when I say you fighting with your brother or you fighting with one of your cousins, even though whoever get the best of that particular person, nobody wins that fight. Nobody wins the fight. They just got the best of you. But the fight that matters is the one who doesn't look like you, the one who oppresses you. That's the real enemy. You know what I'm saying? That's the real war. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot more situations that we're going to see that's going to come up to the front. And, you just have to be mindful and be very protective of your energy at this moment, because when how they say shit go downhill. Excuse my French, but they say shit goes downhill. It starts from the top and then it trickles its way down. So the only question is how you gonna move. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's what I just wanted to talk about real quick. I didn't want to sound like I'm being, preaching on people or whatever, but you know, I will say, talking to the spiritual community is that, it's been infiltrated. You have a lot of seasoned uh practitioners, they kind of like back and back. And I believe there's only a matter of time where a lot of the spiritual community going to go back underground. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get off these platforms, YouTube. You got Patreon. You got all these different spiritual these social networks that they're going to have to go back underground because after a while there's going to be laws, and I'm not trying to prophesy this or whatever. After a while, there's going to start being a lot of laws that's going to be put in place for people who practice what they practice, even though you know we have a physical jurisdiction and laws, but there's also spiritual laws as well. I think like in New York, like you can't do tarot card readings in certain places. In certain cities and states, you can't perform your spiritual rites. So, and if you're pitting out a lot of information, um, you know, people gonna question a lot of what you do, even though a lot of us give out some basic information. So you will have the fundamentals on how to start your own practice, but they're gonna start putting a lot of law. They're gonna put a lot of laws out. But I'm rambling or whatever. Not rambling, but I'm just kind of speaking on real quick of what I'm saying is that the spiritual community has been infiltrated, and there's a lot of spiritual felonies that's being taken place, and there will be warrants for you know unjust crimes that's being done. You know what I mean? So you just have to just be mindful on what you're sending out and what you're putting out. um just picking up candles or whatever work you're doing, just to see if you can actually eliminate a person, because you don't know their spiritual court. Even me, what I'm saying, my family lineage practice many different pantheons. So I can choose whatever pantheon that I would like to, practice. So, and then a lot of times people feel as though you get to practice one particular, there's only one, like they say, there's only one. I'm not going to put out a pantheon, but there's only one practice that you can practice. But then you got to look at it. Our ancestors been here for centuries, and a lot of them migrated to different islands and different continents, and then they adapted to the cultures, and then they became a practitioner or practice that particular pantheon. So you can't really just say, well, I'm just Ifa, or I'm just Palo, or I'm just, I've heard a situation where someone, um, they African American and they have Hindu deities. You know what I'm saying? Some even have, I don't know what Asians call it, but Buddha. They supposed to be practicing that. So you really can't base just because you're African American that you're just supposed to practice this one particular pantheon. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to put my chime in on things, but you know, there are, again, that sound like I'm being regurgitated or whatever. Right now the spiritual community has been infiltrated. There's a lot of people that's in the spiritual community committing a lot of spiritual felonies, and it will get addressed accordingly. So this is Agula Ra. Peace.